In the darkest nights, we find our light, battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Oh, surviving together, victorious, never, never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you. Hey, everyone. How you doing today? Welcome to Surviving Together. And I forgot to turn on my other light. There we go. You've landed at Surviving Together, a safe space for trauma survivors to connect and build community on their healing journey, as well as providing trauma-related education for all. I am back. You see my messed up studio. I am in the middle of redecorating the office, but back in Michigan now after being in Vancouver and Victoria for a week. And it is great to be on a normal schedule again. Although will say it was an amazing trip. It was an amazing book launch. And I will be speaking about that more on Saturday. But because we have a very special guest here today, I don't want to take up a lot of time speaking about the trip and everything. So I want to welcome Crystal's here today so far. Carmela's here and Encarnasol, and it looks like Indigo so far. And I know we'll have more people dribbling in as they get the live notification. So just welcome all of you who are here so far. And I am going to bring up Glori Meldrum to the stage now. Hi, Glori. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good, dear. Thank you.
Oh, welcome to Surviving Together. We're so honored to have you here and that you're going to share your story with us, from your trauma through your advocacy work to your eventual, healing that you have done, which I think is just an amazing story arc that you have to where you are now. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to meet in person, but next time I'm in Victoria, I promised my friend the summer that I'm going to be visiting British Columbia again. So next time I'm in British Columbia, maybe we can get together and it won't be so last minute. But
I'd love it.
awesome. So if you want to, you can just kind of briefly introduce yourself, who you are, and then we'll talk a little bit about your backstory.
Sounds good. So I'm Glori Meldrum. I live in beautiful Victoria. I wish I would have got to see you when you were here. I love it. I'm the mom of 4 beautiful kids, 2 adopted, one from Ethiopia, my son, and then I have a little special needs daughter and 2 bio kids. I have 3 little Havanese puppies. And I live in a beautiful, big kind of garden area, is where my home is. So lots of time for kind of self-work and peace. I have been retired for almost 3 years. And before that, I was an entrepreneur, had a number of businesses, and I am the founder of Little Warriors. And I had the privilege of building the first treatment center in the world for kids that have been sexually abused, called the Be Brave Ranch. And I've also been married to the love of my life for over 30 years.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. You deserve an award just for that. That is just absolutely
so
amazing.
amazing.
Oh, congratulations, I
Thank
have to
you.
say on that. So why don't we just start off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory as to why you're a survivor in the first place, and we'll continue on from there.
That sounds good. So I was raised in a little place called Miramichi, New Brunswick. Very beautiful on a river. My
Oh,
mom,
you're from the total opposite
I
coast.
totally am. I know. See, I gotta be by the
Hey.
water. I gotta be by the water. So I was lived in Miramichi, New Brunswick, and my mom was a single mom doing the best that she could. It's interesting, you know, being a mom of four, we all try our very, very best to raise our kids. And it was tough for my mom. Her and my dad split when I was two, and so we ended up moving in with my grandparents. So my grandmother, and I guess he's my step grandfather because my real grandfather died before I was born.
Okay.
And we lived with them because my mom didn't have the money and we needed a place to stay. And so my grandfather, and nobody knew at the time, except other kids that he was abusing, but I lived in the house and he basically hunted me from 8 to 10. And, you know, looking back, I realize now that was like the first time that I experienced anxiety is when I was hiding. It was like an 1,100 square foot house, right? It wasn't very big.
Right.
There's lots of people that live there. I had a cousin that lived there at the same time. And, you know, then you find out later that the same thing was happening to her.
Oh, I'm so
Really
sorry.
yeah, I spent 2 years in absolute horror. You know, the first time I was sexually abused it was New Year's Eve. And I remember my mom said they were going to bingo or something. And she's like, you can stay up and watch the fireworks. And, you know, looking back, you really, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what's going to happen. So we had a sitter, and my grandfather, who was in AA, came home early, sent the sitter home because my grandmother and my mom were out, because people don't realize that sex offenders, pedophiles, like they're smart.
Oh, oh
And
yeah.
they know how to manipulate, they know how to hunt.
100%.
And so he sent her home. My sister was in bed, who's 2 years younger than me. And I was watching the count, like staying up, and I was playing this game called Tip the Waiter. And you put like these little food things on this little waiter. And he came back up, sat down with me, and it was to the countdown on New Year's Eve that he started to sexually abuse me. And so, you know, lots of memories of things that he had done. And I didn't tell anybody because, like a lot of sex offenders, he's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your mother. I'm going to kill your sister. Like, my mom was a single mom. That's really all that I had. Right. And
100%.
so that I kept my mouth shut. And you know how you know people that they mean it when they're violent? Like, he had already violated and, you know, me in so many ways. I was scared to death of him. And so when we finally moved out, I told my mom what happened, which was, I look back and that was such a brave, courageous thing to do as a little girl, right?
100%.
Yeah.
How did
And
your
so,
mom take that news?
you know, she grabbed a butcher knife and she wanted to kill him because she had no idea. And my mom is a survivor as well. So is the grandmother who was married to the offender. So it's hit all those generations. And so I said to my mom that night, and my mom's had mental health issues her whole life too, is I said, Mom, like, I want to tell the aunts and uncles so that I can protect my cousins. And so my mom invited them all over. And this is actually like worse than the abuse, is they all sat around our kitchen table and they're like, I think it was your mother's new husband, or it was your father. And, you know, what were you wearing? What did you do to turn him on? You know, you're dirty. Like, I was attacked. And it was interesting, like viciously attacked. And so that night, I lost really everyone, because
Right.
now I was the, you know, the kid that wouldn't keep her mouth shut, that only ever wanted to protect my cousins, right?
Right.
Still to this day, they don't talk to me, right? Like, it
Oh
is,
my
I
gosh.
lost all of my family. And I
Yeah.
hadn't told my dad until I was maybe like 19, 20. And because once I realized how they all reacted, I sure as
Yeah.
hell wasn't telling him,
100%.
right?
Right. Yep.
And so that night, I remember I ran into my little bedroom and, you know, got my small little body in bed, and I was in the fetal position and I was just bawling, because, and that really is when it started, that I was dirty, that I wasn't lovable, that I was just a piece of shit. And by 12 years old, I had been with my dad because my parents were divorced. And I had my dad's razor, and I went into his little bathroom and I had the razor to my wrists. And so
Mm.
I always say to people, that's the day that I became a Little Warriors. And I was
Mhm.
like, screw everybody else. Like, I am going to be a fighter. That's the day. And that's why Little Warriors is named Little Warriors,
Mhm.
because that's the day that I decided to fight and to live, and not to um, give them anything more. Like, I went to weddings and was forced to dance with him. I went to his house. I was forced to sit on his knee. And the first
Yeah.
time that I went to his place, when he knew, you know what he did? They're like, go sit on your grandfather's knee. And he did this. He smiled at me because he knew that everybody
Yeah.
knew, and they were still making me do that. And,
Yeah.
you know, I look back and, you know, once again, everybody does the best they can, but that really was unacceptable behavior to a little girl.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's
Absolutely.
interesting, years later, I was the one that went to them and said, was it that you didn't know what to do, or that you just didn't love me?
Yeah.
And, you know, you would have thought it would have been, hey, I'm so sorry, da 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 da. One of my aunts still hasn't messaged me back to this day. And
Mm.
so, but, you know, I'm a warrior. So in the end, you know, it's not a loss to me. It might have been when I was a kid, but, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not the one that did anything wrong. And when I
Exactly.
started Little Warriors, they were very mad when I did my book. And it's not about them, right?
No.
It was about me and my healing. And I think I realized that I really didn't kind of need their love. Like, if that's what their love was, you know what I mean? Like, I'd
Oh,
rather
yeah.
be without
Yeah.
it, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to cut the dead wood. I mean, the people who aren't going to support you and who are going to react that way, they're not the types of people that you need in your life. They're not going to lift you up. And I just
Yeah.
want to say before we get any further, what an incredible internal fire you had as a little girl to be able to say, this is my point. No, they're not getting any more of my power,
Yeah.
because a lot of us don't learn that until a lot later in life, right?
It's interesting too, because my mom did the right thing, and she took us to the police. She took us to social services. And you know what they said? She's a liar. He's a nice guy. Did you know he's a crosswalk guard? And when my mom got off the phone with them, I said, like, and God love my mom, when I was like, she brought me to disclose. She's like, if you tell them, I'll bring you to McDonald's. And we didn't have a lot of money. And I
Mhm.
remember this lady, she had this bun. She's really quite hateful. Should have never been working with kids. I wish to this day that I remembered her name. And they didn't believe me. And so I didn't take my grandfather back to court until just before I started Little Warriors. So almost 20 years ago, I was like, my friend came over and she said, Glori, like, if you're going to start this organization and build this, you need to bring him to justice. What I should have
Mhm.
said at that point is, there isn't any justice.
Right. Well, you
I
hadn't had any reason to feel like there would be up until that point.
But and there still isn't. Like, I'm just going to be candid. My grandfather there was 3 of us that they found that were willing to testify more, because on average they abused 75 to 125 different children. And
Yes.
so I yeah, it was crazy. The whole thing looking back, it was a lot, and I'm grateful. You and I chatted a little bit in the just pre that it was that fight, that grit, that fuck you, that I'm going to get this, I'm going to live. Like, I made a decision that night. I didn't kill myself at 10. I'm going to live. Like, that's
Yeah.
it. I'm going to fight. And I actually funneled all my energy into track and field. And I was a really good, like, national level. And it's funny because I'm like 5'3" and tiny, and I was doing hurdles, but I found a coach that believed in me. So sports was the thing that really kept me alive, because I knew I could work hard. I knew that I was fast. I knew that my coach thought a lot of me and people respected me as an athlete. That really was that one thing that kept me alive, and the fight, right?
Wow. I just had to say, because you feel such a sense of accomplishment, right? Of doing that. And I feel such a kinship with you, because I was 9 when I started Taekwondo, right? And really that's the only thing that got me through the years, after, because I had moved away to a different state from where most of my abuse had came, and finally found someone who said, hey, you're good at this, and was able to just funnel everything. So I get that. I 100% get that. So you used all of that, and you used
All of
that fire, and that grit and that determination. And I have to mention to people, if you're watching this from anywhere other than Canada, Canada does not have a statute of limitations on sexual assault, and that's going to be different. So if Glori had been in the United States, she would not have been able to bring that case 20 years after,
which
to her
is
grandfather,
which is
which
such
is changing.
yeah.
I will say is changing. There are states, probably about half of them now, have something for childhood sexual assault that don't have statute of limitations, or you have a certain number of years after you disclose, if you're an adult, that you can bring things. So things are changing in the US, but on that aspect, I have to say you guys are way ahead of us, because it's been
Well,
that way for so long.
yeah, I think that here, I mean, your laws are better. And so on average in the US, someone will get 10 years for sexual abuse. My grandfather
The
got 2
sentencing.
years community service. He never went to jail. And, it's interesting, going back to the track thing, is that I should have seen back then that I was the girl on the treadmill that gets on the treadmill and goes, and didn't have a break, because I ended up getting injured and couldn't compete once I got to university. I had pulled too many like I had really written off my body physically in a lot of ways, which is something that repeated itself my entire life, like not knowing when to stop and take a break, take a rest. I know it now,
Right.
but and I'll tell you,
Lacking.
going to court with him was my dad and the reporter and my best friend were on my side, so it would have been somewhere in my 30s, and my family was on the other side, like the aunts and uncles. My grandmother was knitting. And I got up in that stage and I testified for close to 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of the
And it's
most.
so, we see this with the family, and that just the people, they're either 100% supportive, or they're like 100%, I'm putting my blindfold on, and this cannot happen. Right. And for you, most of your family, it sounds, was on that other side.
Yeah, I think for them it was pride. Like they were a very poor
Mm,
family. My real grandfather died, had a heart attack at 41. And I think it was pride. There's no sexual abuse in our family. It was
yeah.
a pride thing. But it's interesting. None of them have ever been like, hey, congratulations, or I'm sorry. And, I'm at a point in my life, I actually don't need it anymore. I don't even consider them family. Like there's one aunt that was different than all of them.
Mhm.
And I still have a relationship with her, and I've worked through a lot of forgiveness with my mom, and my mom and I are in a really great place.
Oh,
But
that's
people
awesome.
that know me will tell you that I don't tolerate things that aren't in alignment with me, because I was
Mhm.
forced to do it a lot of my younger life.
Yeah.
And I'm just, yeah. And I ended up a kid that grew up to be a strong woman with a big mouth that was able to shine the light, on this topic. Right.
So what led you, we had spoken earlier that you had, after you've kind of got through your young life, then you went to university, and then afterwards were starting to be an entrepreneur, right? And at some point you decided this center needs to be created. What was that? What light bulb turned for you?
I think I'll start like we used to go to church every Sunday, which is hugely ironic. And my grandfather would sit beside me. And it's interesting. At first, I would go up. I grew up Anglican, and I would go up to the front. They'd ask, "Who wants to be saved? Come on up." And things were bad, so I'd go up and I'd raise my little hands up, and I would be like, "I want to be saved," and I would pray to God every time for my grandfather to stop and for my
Right.
family to love me. And it's
Yeah.
interesting. One day I stopped praying for that. And I said to God, this is kind of sad. I said, God, just send me one person that loves me, that
Mhm.
really loves me, that I know will never leave me, never betray me, never hurt me, never wound me, any of it. And I met that guy in university. He is the only nice
Oh,
guy I ever dated. And he is the absolute love of my life. He is my greatest gift. He is my best friend. And so him and I met at Dalhousie University in Halifax. And of course, when we graduated, I was like, I didn't even wait for the diploma. We got on a plane with $500 visas, 10 boxes of clothes, moved to Alberta because I wanted to
wow.
beat all of the people that were going to apply for jobs. So I wanted to get there
Yeah.
first. And so I started my first business at 23.
Mhm.
And when I was a little girl, I wrote down, I'm going to be worth this much. I'm going to drive this car. I'm going to live in this house. Like all of this stuff that I thought was going to make me valuable, which is so
Right.
sad.
Right.
And I gave myself till 30. I had done it all by 26 because I mentioned to you that I have no break. So I started my first company at 23, which was a marketing communications ad agency. And I was doing a lot of work in nonprofit and helping them raise lots of money. And I went to this entrepreneur organization conference in Montreal, and I had my first aha moment. And it was a slap you over the head thing. So we had all been out at this beautiful restaurant. Um, and everybody spoke French, and I'll remember that there was these beautiful paintings on the wall, and this guy would go paint on a boat, drop them off, and you could never meet him. So I'm the night of this conference, and it was one of those, they're pouring wine, you don't even know how much you're drinking because they keep
Yeah.
pouring it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I offered them like $5,000 or $10,000 for this painting that was speaking to me. And I wasn't an art girl at all. And they're like, sorry, we own them personally, blah, blah. I've still hence gone back to try to get this. And it was the picture of a warrior, a native warrior. That's not even the craziest part. So then I make my 8 a.m. session after I staggered home from too much wine. Unbelievable meal though. And I don't remember who was there. This is so crazy because it didn't matter. I remember at the end, they gave us chocolates, like as part of the dessert. So I make the 8 a.m. There's a guy by the name of David Ash who is from Vancouver, and he was getting this big award from EO, Entrepreneur Organization. And his mother had died of, she was lived on the streets, addiction, all of that stuff. And so he had given millions of dollars and started a women's shelter in Vancouver, which is still there.
Oh,
And
wow.
there was only like 5 women out of like 500 people, because for like groups like EO and YPO, there's just not a lot of women that make the threshold of the revenue. So I was always like one of a couple women. So it's at a Fairmont. I have this Fairmont notebook, and it comes through me like this. I start bawling. It's Little Warriors. First Treatment Center, prevention, awareness. Literally, God, the universe came right through me, and I wrote it all down. And this is a true story. I was walking out bawling, okay? And the lady's like, we're doing testimonials. Would you mind doing one? And I'm like, lady, I'm crying. Like, I'm like, obviously, and I went and I did it. And it's still online. If you go type my name and Entrepreneur Organization, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. So I go back to the hotel room after the day, my husband's there, and I say, I'm going to do this. And he's like, smiles, and he goes, I knew you always would. All someone needs is one friggin' person to see their brilliance, right?
Yeah.
And so we flew home. I, told my best friend. I went and reported to the police. I started setting up a board, incorporating like all the nonprofit stuff. And when I first started Little Warriors, I would go, and because I was very well connected because of my business background, and I'd go and meet with these, bank CEOs and like all these people. Man, some of them couldn't wait for me to get out of there, because they had to give me the respect of sitting there. But I'll tell you, it took me a really long time to raise the first million. And the people that helped me raise the money to begin with, guess who they were? They were flipping kids. They were giving us their birthday money, lemonade stands. It was the children that stood up first.
I am not surprised. I am not surprised, because I have a kid's story that I can tell from that was somebody else from this week, that they were raising money, and it was all these people's kids who ended up going, hey, let's do this. So yeah, because aren't kids the most altruistic, right? I mean, they haven't learned the world yet, and so they want to help.
And even to this day, because I mentioned that I moved from Alberta to BC, whenever they're here, or they will fly and see me and come visit and come for supper. And so it was interesting, because we started this, we do a Be Brave luncheon, and it's like once a year, roughly 1,000 people. And I had done it for 4 years, and, 3. And we just couldn't get the traction of big money. People would say to me, they're like, it's not an issue, Glori. I'm sure it happened to you, but we don't see it. And I felt like saying, a lot of those people some of them were actually friends with offenders that they didn't know were offenders. Because you find out all of that stuff, right? And I'll never forget one of these kids that I had met. It was her dream to meet me, and we'll just call her Kay. And I flew her out, and her mom, and met her, and it was just such a bond. And that night, I had just got done a luncheon. I had almost lost my voice, because I was working 50 hours in my business, 50 on this Little Warrior stuff. And I was gassed, but I had this little girl and her family here. And I'll never forget, the government in Alberta at that time, or Canadian government, wouldn't give us like 1 cent. They did not care. And so I'll never forget, I was, part of what I did was a lot of media stuff in my business. So I knew all the press. And I said to them, like, listen, this is kind of bullshit. You guys got to help. I'm happy to do the work, but you guys need to write some checks. And it was a big political fight.
Right. Step up to the plate.
But they wouldn't. But what's interesting? One of my friend's mother got my number and called me the night that the little girl was staying with me. And she's like, I hate the premier, and I saw what she's did to you. And I'm thinking, lady, Like, what's going on? And I am
Mhm.
telling you, if you do the right thing in life, everything comes together. And you know what she said at the end of it? I didn't know, like, if she had money, I didn't know any of it. And she's like, I'm wiring you $1 million tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
And when the money came through, it was 1.4 million. So
Wow.
now I think I was maybe short $1 million, $1.5 million to
This is like
buy
mid
the treat.
2000s, right? This
Yeah,
is
to
like mid
buy.
2000s.
You bet. So I was still short about $1.5 million, but now I got traction because I
Yeah.
wanted to buy the facility cash. And
Okay.
it wasn't so, it was more complicated because no one had ever done this. So we couldn't model it after everything. So I went to different universities because I wanted to measure and prove what we were doing. And now
Mhm.
I think we're in over 15 medical journals around the world. Like when I say it's the
Wow.
Mayo Clinic, I'm not kidding. So
Yeah.
for every dollar invested in Little Warriors, the return is 100. We say on the paper it's 10. It's not. It's 100. And so it works. If people's kids get sexually abused, you do whatever you need to do to get into that center. Like I'm retired from there now, but I am telling you, it is world class in everything they do, and they do advocacy, prevention, and treatment. So we also have a prevention program that is in a whole bunch of countries around the world, and everything is measured. And so really what led me to doing that was the foundation of love and support from my husband, because I'd never really felt loved until Gary. That's the honest to God's truth, is I didn't feel loved as a child. I didn't
Mhm.
feel protected. I didn't
Right.
feel safe. Um, and so once I had that aha moment in Montreal, that was it. And it
Mhm.
was go time. Like I think within a year I had the first luncheon for 1,000 people. And I
Wow.
basically just guilted people in that knew me, liked me, respected me to buy tables and to come help. Because the problem is that there's, even in Canada, there's maybe 5 people that, and it's probably more like 3 that actually speak out and do interviews and all of that stuff and share their full stories. Because you can imagine the amount of death threats that I got, people threatening to set me
Wow.
on fire, to kill me because they were molesting boys on their team, but they considered it consensual. Like, no, my house, my business, the ranch has been
Wow.
on lockdown before. Like, there wasn't anything easy about those 18 years setting it up, raising the money. Anytime I'd see a kid that was, there was a kid in Alberta that was taken to the US and horrible things done. They did find her, thank God. I remember I was on a holiday in Palm Springs and I said to my husband, I'm really sorry. I got to find her parents. She's got to go to the ranch. And I tell you, I found them and she came, did our program, and is doing amazingly well. All of the kids
Oh,
that
that's
take our
fabulous.
program do unbelievably well because we follow them, right? We follow them, we measure how they're doing, all of those things, right?
Can you tell people just a little bit about the structure of the ranch and kind of, how you guys help? I know that there's inpatient and there's some outpatient work, and just
Yeah.
kind of give people a rundown of that.
You bet. And so the program is 1 year. We treat kids from 8 to 17 is the range, both boys and girls, cohort models. So there's boys and girls at the same time. But they get put in cohort groups. The program is 1 year long. So they come for 30 days and then they come back and forth every couple of months, and the outpatient piece happens in between. So the majority, I
Okay.
would say, is inpatient. Then we do follow up with them through the University of Alberta, making sure that they're doing well. And we know that we've reduced PTSD, anxiety, suicide, cutting, homelessness, prostitution, because a third party has done that research for us, and that's the University of Alberta. So one
Oh,
of the
wow.
smartest thing I did setting it up was get everything third party evaluated, because when people said
Yeah.
it, well, how do you know it works? I was like, great, put your money where your mouth is. This is how
Yep.
it works. And we didn't do
Yeah.
the research, right? They did. And so we've got, I think there's roughly about 100, 120 staff there. We have a very great clinical team with amazing qualified staff that are either, you know, from a social work or psychologist background. We have a psychologist on staff, and it's all trauma informed, everything we do. It is, I wish I would have had the chance to do it. I mean,
Who's
still part of
just
my
thinking
dream.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this, because this is showing what intervention does for kids, right? That when they have a chance to address what's going on, that they can live such wonderful lives afterwards. And what what our trajectories would have been like had we had that at our ages when we were just getting out of our stuff.
You know, and I think that's actually a really good point, is that, you know, when people, and we chatted about this in the kind of the pre-bit, but, you know, people would look at me and they're like, you know what, she's, you know, very successful financially, great marriage, kids, little warriors. Like, I have a great, like an unbelievable resume, but I was not well. Like,
Yeah.
I look back at, you know, the 100 hours a week, the, you know, the raising of the money, the chairing the board, the speaking, my own businesses. And it took somebody not well to build it, because no one told me, like, if anybody ever said, well, I don't think you can do that, I'd be like, watch me, watch
Mhm.
me, watch me, watch me. It doesn't matter if it was a bit, like, it doesn't matter. I would just get it done. It's that little track kid, right?
Right.
Okay, where was I going with that? So for me, I was, you know, very sick, suffered from anxiety, severe panic disorder, you know, depression. Yet every day I was getting up doing this stuff because it was bigger than me, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize how sick I was. I knew I wasn't well. But I
Right.
think about 7.5 years ago, I got diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer, and it was HPV. So my grandfather had given it to me when he sexually abused me. It stayed dormant in my body until I was 44. And I had been for a PAP every year of my life. Went for a PAP, got a call, you have abnormal cells. It's not that big of a deal. We'll laser them off. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that wasn't the case. Originally, I was stage 1. And when they did my radical hysterectomy, I was stage 3. It had spread to my lymphatic system.
Oh my gosh.
I had 35 rounds of radiation. I had chemo, and I had 2 nervous breakdowns
Gosh.
that were
Glori. Oh my gosh. That is a
were
lot.
horrific. I ended up going to a treatment center called Sierra Tucson in Tucson in the US. I spent 35 days there in partial hospitalization. You can imagine that was interesting. You know, Meldrum 5522, you can have your meds now, get up, go shower. It was a very humbling experience. I never had phone privileges for almost 10 days. I couldn't talk to my family. But there was one day, because chemo was, it's still something I'm working through, because I still remember how it took my spirit, that whole experience, that
Yeah.
my friends would say, you're 99% gone. I was on suicide watch. My
Whole
husband
trauma in
went,
and of itself. I mean,
my,
not only just the triggering of the fact that getting this and realizing how you got it was triggering because of the abuse, but then just the medical trauma that you're going through.
at the same
compounding
time.
everything. Yeah.
But for me, emotionally was harder than physical. And physical, I lost 50 pounds. I ended up with an eating disorder. I couldn't eat food. Like I was, 5 times they almost hospitalized me. But knowing that, when I opened the ranch, my grandfather died 90 days later. Okay. So he
Wow.
was dead. I was doing really well. Then I get this cancer diagnosis. And I remember first of all, I remember being in the tub, like the first night when I found out what was going on. And I said to my husband, I married the love of my life. I, got to do my dream in business and build this and all this stuff. I said, but Gary, like, I haven't lived. I
Yeah.
have only lived for other people and I've given everything away. Like,
Yeah.
I need to live before I die. Like, I need to
Mhm.
fight and I need to live. And so, they put me on a sedative called clonazepam, and clonazepam is like the drug that you take so you don't kill yourself, and
Right.
highly addictive, zombie. And I remember another aha moment. I would bath I would bath 4 times a day because the heat would decrease my anxiety, and I would just rerun the water. And I went in one day, I took a bottle of clonazepam and a bottle of Pristiq, which was the anxiety med I was on. And like that time that I thought about killing myself at my dad's with the razor, I was in that tub crying, door locked, 50-50, being like, God, after all I've been through, you've
Right.
got to be kidding me. And
Right.
this isn't like, I'm a 9 out of 10 on the ACE score. Like, this isn't even all of it. And I remember thinking, and this voice came to me and said, how's it working for you so far? And I remember making a conscious decision to live and not exit.
Mhm.
But it took me back and lower than when I was a kid, because I
Right.
had come so far and I had
Mhm.
slid into the dust. Like
Yeah.
every day, I can remember laying on the floor in my living room like this, and I had really long hair at the time. And my husband would come and pull my ponytail up and say, honey, what can I get you? And my kids would be hands all over me, and I would be like, I just want to die. Like, I
Mhm.
just can't take another ounce of pain. And
Right.
chemo, I only did 2 of the 5. I did all of the radiation, which was high, and 35 rounds. And I never told the public until a year later, because I was Little Warriors in a lot of ways, and I didn't want people to stop donating because they were worried it wasn't going to happen. Right.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
I did a luncheon 13 days. Sorry, after radiation, I was on a stage.
Wow.
And people are like, you look really fit. And I'd be like, thank you. And I wasn't fit. I was fighting
Right.
for my life. Right. And
Yeah,
so
you got your public mask and everything that's going on
mhm.
behind.
I remember there was one day I went to the Cross Cancer Institute because I was there every day for 35 days between chemo and radiation. And this girl came up to me, and cancer is a great equalizer. We're
Mhm.
all just the same. And she came up and she's like, you're Glori Meldrum. You started Little Warriors. And she goes, my mom's here. And I gave them a hug. And I'm so sorry that you're here too. And we're going to beat this. And I took your girl's hair. I wish I would have got her name. I took her hands and I said, I need to ask you something. I said, nobody knows I'm sick, and it'll really hurt Little Warriors in their ability to grow if you tell anybody. And she said, Glori, I won't tell anyone. And, there was another thing I was on. I was so thin, I couldn't even keep up my pants and stuff like that they give
Yeah.
you at the hospital. And I didn't know, but the radiation techs would say, we wish we knew how you were doing. Like all of you that leave radiation. I said, well, you're gonna. Every time I come for treatment for the next 5 years, I'm gonna come see you. And I went every visit and said to all 14 pods at the Cross Cancer, I said, I love you. Thank you. You are my hero. And I am here because of you. And when I
Oh,
rang the bell, I went down
wow.
and I did the same thing, and I brought them donuts and flowers, and I said, I made it. And they said something about little warriors. And so they had always known, and not one of them breached
That's
my
awesome.
privacy, right? And so I have a lot
That's
of love
good.
for the cross cancer in Edmonton, Alberta. And I'm so grateful for the people that walked with me. There were people that I thought were my people. They were not my people. I had one
Mm,
of my best friends said, I said, I need you. And she said, I can't give you anymore. And like,
yeah,
she hadn't seen me in a long time. And that was the end of our friendship. I never really heard from her again. But
yeah.
you know, it's really fascinating because there was a girl that her name's Karen, and I know she's on watching because she watches everything I do. And she had been a volunteer at the ranch, and my favorite volunteer. Like, her and her husband were my favorite out of thousands.
Is
And
that the
one day,
Karen C we were talking
yep,
about?
yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw her at the IGA, and I was maybe just at a treatment. And she saw me, and I looked disheveled and sickly and just bad. And she said, are you okay? And I said, no, I got cancer. And I broke down in her arms. And I'm going to tell you, she is my second greatest gift, because
Oh,
I loved her as a volunteer, but we weren't friends. I was too busy for friends. And
right.
to this day, she is, besides my husband, Gary, my absolute bestest friend,
That's
because
so
she would
awesome.
come, and I told you I was on all this medication. She would walk with me, and every day she would show up at my house and walk with me around the block in 40 below, 20 below, and pull me off if I started to walk in a little bit of traffic because I was just so drugged. Um,
Right, right.
Her and a few other people, another girlfriend, Sarah, another girlfriend, Ange and Leanne, like, those are my tribe, right?
Yeah,
They didn't love me because of little warriors. They loved me because of Glori.
yeah.
And my husband was unshakable. He never missed an appointment. He is the
Mm.
greatest human I've ever met in my life, and Karen's second. And
I'm so
so
glad you had those rocks.
God gives us what we need. And my God is a love God. He doesn't hate anybody. He's not against LGBTQ. My God loves everybody. So as soon as people get all like crazy about religion, I'm out. And
Hmm.
so my God is love. That's it. And he gave me every person I needed, right down to the roommate at partial hospitalization, right? Like,
Oh, wow.
everything I needed. I had this one friend too, Juliana, and she put in my luggage when I went to the treatment center 35 days of love letters to me. Do you know that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I
That is
read them every
that's
day, and I put them on my
that
wall. Like, I can't even express the love that my group had for me. Um,
yeah,
and still to this day, I love them all so very much, because they reminded me of who Glori was when I didn't know anymore. And
right.
there literally wasn't much left to me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you start on the upswing again?
Mm. This is really probably the most profound part of the entire story. I walked away from absolutely everything that was making me sick. I got off the treadmill and I did an absolute U-turn. And I mean U-turn. I sold, I had businesses, commercial property. I divested everything,
Hmm.
everything. I put my house up for sale. I bought a house in Victoria. I resigned as the board chair for Little Warriors.
Hmm.
Um, I moved to the island. I did zero work. I did zero speaking. I did I did nothing for almost 2 years. I built a beautiful garden. I never even grew a plant in my life. And
Mhm.
now I built this spectacular sanctuary.
That's awesome.
So I went inside and started to look after me.
Yeah.
I work out every day. I get my 10,000 steps in. Every second day, I do kettlebells, I row, I run, I do weights, I box. The other day, I hike. I eat clean. I show myself, whether it's through 3 of these of water a day, I show myself that Glori loves glory. I am present. I am no longer on a treadmill. I
Mhm.
am, my kids will tell you that I am the mother that they always wanted, that my
Yeah.
mother has changed from looking after everybody else's kids to looking after us.
Yeah.
My marriage has always been strong, but I think it's the strongest it's ever been because we just hang out together all day and do stuff, whatever we want to do. I've never in my life put me first. I put my
Yeah.
business first, Little Warriors first, and now it's about me. And part of that growth and that transformation was looking at all of the chaos that I had created. And
Yeah.
that's something that I need to own because I was an asshole at the end. I was intense, abrupt, impatient. I could be rude. Um, I had no more capacity. I was beyond overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I kept letting people take from me. And then I took it out on people that it didn't deserve it. And
Right.
so let's just say I've made a lot of phone calls, emails, texts, apologizing to people based on the way that I treated them,
Mhm.
because that's on me. Yes, did it come from trauma and all of this shit that I've been through? Yeah, but I had to fix that. And I
Yeah.
had no emotional control. Like, so I was always fight or flight, like, like always, like get on stage, go here, go do this. Like there was
Yeah.
no governor, there was no brakes on my
Mhm.
vehicle. I was completely off the track. And unfortunately, the people that had been around me in some capacity were taking and not being honest
Mhm.
with me, if that makes sense. And so I knew the only way to get healthy was to stop everything that made me sick.
Mhm.
So there's people that'll be like, "Hey, I'm not on your Facebook anymore." I'm like, "No, I don't. I love you from afar, but I don't want to see your feed anymore."
Yeah.
So that's why. Or other relationships. I've left a lot of relationships because when you're unhealthy, guess what? You pick other unhealthy people,
Mhm.
right? And so the reflection of the chaos that I had created from my trauma, um, I had to own that piece. I had to know that I needed to slow down, that I needed to be present. And that scared the shit out of me. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie. I've never been present in my life. And, I had to be present. I had to show up. I couldn't just sleep all day. I now had to find new things to do. But what space gave me was I was able to connect dots of I act like that because I'm overwhelmed and I'm in fight or flight. So how do I decompress, not be overwhelmed, not be in fight or flight? Like I had to really evolve my emotional. I had to figure out emotional regulation. I had none.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
still to this day, anybody that's worked for me, I'm like, God love them. Like, cause I was a lot. And that was a lot. And I pushed and I was a driver. Yet you'll say, hey, but look at what you built. Yes, and I'm very proud of that. But I wish that I did it from a healthier perspective. But I'm
Mhm.
not sure that I could have created and built what I did without being that sick. It took me to be in that space to do that.
Mhm.
Would I ever go back to living that way that I did every day? I would never. Because I want to be healthy. And I do understand there's probably people being like, well, not all of us can like walk away. And I could, because I was in a financial position. But I think it's important to realize is that when you sell a business, you maybe get the value of 3 or 4 years, what it's worth. But if it's a business that's successful, you're giving up that future revenue. I didn't care. I would have walked away from the business if I didn't sell them. That's how committed I was to getting healthy. I wasn't committed to doing things for other people in this couple of years. Only me. I literally haven't done one thing I didn't want to do. If it was a podcast or this or that, I don't want to do it. I didn't do it. It's only been in the last month that I did a speaking engagement for WXN in Vancouver and this podcast. It's only now that I'm coming out of my cocooning and my rebuild and my caterpillar to butterfly that I'm starting to do things that feel healthy. And yeah, like I never ever thought this could be my life. Like if you would have said, Glori, I see the future and you're going to be happy, I would have said to you, there's no way.
Right.
I'll never, ever be happy. And the other thing I really had to get under control were my negative thoughts. Because imagine you go from someone that, a lot of people in the country know, a successful entrepreneur, you walk away from all that identity and you're like, and you have issues with being worthy and being loved. I'd be like, I said to my husband, I'm like, do you love me more now that like I do nothing, or back when I was like a big achiever? And he looks at me and he laughs. He goes, Glori, now. Like, I'm living. And that's the one thing, like anybody that's listening, that's a survivor, that's gone through this, I want you to know you can be happy. You can get there. I swear to God on my life, you can get there. And the thinking part of all those stories and, my family doesn't love me and I did this and I'm such a bad person. Why wasn't I telling myself all the great things that I did? Yes, I was a train wreck in a whole bunch of areas, but I've done way more good than bad. And so have each of you, right? It's changing the narrative in the mind that then connects to the nervous system and we can calm down, right? We can calm down. Like, no wonder I got so sick mentally and so sick with cancer. My body couldn't do it anymore. Right. My body couldn't do it anymore. And it shouldn't have to. I'm not of value based on what I do for other people. I'm of value for how I treat myself first and foremost, and the people that I love. Right. So my purpose now is being kind and loving and present and loving myself and others every single day. That's as simple as it is. And I don't know what's next for me. People are like, oh, what are you going to do now? You're going to build this, you're going to build that. I'm like, I don't know what God has in his plans for me, but I do know how to listen to him. I always have. And so we'll see. I'm starting a little consulting business. I'm going to help nonprofits raise money and other companies do some marketing, but I'm going to work 7 to 10 hours a week because that's all I feel like working. But I do still want to help, but right now, just in a different way. I'm not really ready to sit on any nonprofit boards. Like that's kind of, I don't think in my future right away, but when God wants me to do something, he'll show up and he'll tell me what to do and I'll be there to listen. Right. But he's given me this time to heal and reflect. And I wish I would have got out earlier of all of it because I'm really loving my life. I'm really loving my puppy.
You're loving yourself.
I'm loving myself. That alone is the amount of hatred. And people would be like, I never ever thought you were very arrogant. Like, what do you mean you don't love yourself? You had this big ego. No, man, ego is hatred of your own insecure, like your own self. When you treat people bad, it's because you feel like a piece of shit. I don't treat people bad anymore because I don't feel like a piece of shit. What other people are putting on you is their own stuff. And I'm guilty of doing that. And I've learned and I don't do it anymore. Right. And the big thing as a survivor is, although it never should have happened, it is my responsibility for my healing, nobody else's. The main thing we all have to do to make this world better is to heal our own trauma and to listen when, you know, someone's like, walk 5K a day or do this or do that, and just be, if it worked for them and they're healthy, do it. Like that, learn from people that have gotten there. And, you know, I think I'm a lot less appealing these days because I'm not fighting with the federal government, the RCMP, the Scouts, the Catholic Church. I'm just talking about healing. So it's really funny. I'm like, wow, 2 people like that. But the problem is I don't care. Like, I don't care if anybody wants to listen to what I have to say anymore. This is just me being authentic and hoping that it touches someone.
Oh, looks like we lost Glori for a second. I'm sure she'll come back. And she works on her technical issue. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things that she was saying. And the first one is, and we talk about this a lot here, is that I can offer and therapists can offer all of the tools for you to help you on your healing journey, but it's up to each and every one of us to use those tools to heal ourselves. Nobody else can heal us. Our therapists cannot just, you know, heal us. There isn't any medication that can just go ahead and heal us. It is, can you hear me?
I can. My laptop completely shorted out, but I got on right fast.
Yeah, we got on. I was just saying that I think it's so important, you know, what you had mentioned about it being our responsibility as survivors to heal ourselves, because there is no pill that we can take that is magically going to heal our trauma. It may help with some of the effects. There is no therapist that is going to be able to heal us. They may be able to give us the tools. They may be able to walk us through things like EMDR, but they can't heal us. We have to pick up those tools each and every day and decide which tool is going to work for me today. And this tool may have worked for you. It may not work for me. I may have this tool that worked today, but it doesn't work tomorrow. And that's why we have this whole huge toolbox of things that we can grab. And the things that Glori has been talking about in terms of her gardening, in terms of her boundaries, in terms of releasing the toxic people in her life. These are all of the things that we talk about on this channel in terms of things that we need to put into place, or things that we can do, grounding techniques, her eating well, walking, getting the water, all sorts of therapeutic techniques that can help us with our emotional regulation. And we have to reach for them each and every day.
Okay.
And it can be a struggle. It can
Yeah,
be a
and I
struggle. We've got to decide every day that we're going to do this.
I think for me, it's interesting just you saying that is I got to a place that I was like, I'm done with this shit. Like I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm getting better. Everybody needs to get out of my way. I'm going to go cocoon and I am going to come out of this healthy no matter what. Instead of all of my energy focused on building a treatment center, I took that energy, focused it on my own self. And
Mhm.
it's things like I have a hot tub. I'm in it every day. It Hot water has always been a regulator for me. Same with exercise. And, you know, I've had lots of therapists in my life. It's not what helped me get healthy. Me hitting the last wall and being like, I'm done with this. This is my responsibility. Because forever I'm like, well, it's not my responsibility. He did this to me. It's my
Mhm.
responsibility to get healthy. And I'm
Mhm.
going to give it everything I have because I don't want to be miserable and bitchy and overwhelmed and unhappy. I'm 52, man. How many more years do I have? Maybe
Right.
20, 32. But you know what? I'm going to live the shit out of this life. And
Yeah.
that became my priority, above and beyond every other thing. Right. So I'm
Yeah.
finally getting to know myself really at a very deep level that I was too scared to look at before because I thought I was so bad and so
Yeah.
broken and so unlovable, right?
So many of us survivors, and we talk about this here too. We don't know our inner self. We don't know our authentic self because
Yeah.
it has been so traumatized that we become a people pleaser, or we become that overachiever, or one of the things you mentioned, and it struck a chord with me because it was so true with me as well, and it may for other people who are parents out there and also survivors, as to how easy it is to take care of other kids, and yet it's hard to take care of your own kids. And for people who haven't been through this, that may be a really weird mindset to kind of get your head around. But your own kids, that's your own stuff, and that's your own responsibility, and that's digging inside, and that's tougher. That's a lot tougher to deal with than saying, "Okay, I can help you, and, you go home to somebody else, but I can do this for you," versus dealing with what is inside our 4 walls at home, and so that really struck a chord for me because it was so true for me. I had a mental break, and it took 10 years to kind of put myself back together. And during that time, unfortunately, my kid was in his formative years. And,
Mhm.
I look at all that I missed out on. I mean, yeah, I was there, but I was existing in my life. I
Yeah.
wasn't living, right? And there's such a difference between the two.
There really is. And like probably the thing that I'm most proud of is like my oldest daughter Georgia and my second oldest Ella are like, you wouldn't believe our mom. We don't even recognize her. She is so amazing. Like there was something that happened not that long ago, and my oldest daughter, who's a lawyer, found out, and she wrote them a letter and said, "Listen, like what you're doing to my mother isn't okay. I'm the first to admit my mother ain't perfect. She's screwed up a lot of stuff, but I'm telling you, my mother is trying. My mother is like." And I read this, and I was bawling out
I
of
bet.
joy and love that. Even when they hug me, it's closer.
Hmm.
When we spend, like, if there's one thing that I'm really proud of, it's the transformation from unhealthy glory to healthy glory that has made me, like, I'm proud to say. I always used to tell people I'm a shit mom. Like, I'm
Hmm.
there, I try, I don't really know what to do, but now I'm like, no, I'm a good mom. I'm a good mom.
Right.
End of story. You can't tell me I'm not. And my kids have forgiven me. um God love them, for not
Yeah.
being perfect, because I think they know that in the end they're not going to be perfect either. It's
Hmm.
our first time being parents. Like, and lots of people will be like, you've forgiven a lot of people. I'm like, yeah. And it's interesting. I think maybe in my life, one person's ever apologized to me for a behavior. And I bet you I've apologized to like 1,000. And,
Right.
but when you apologize, it doesn't matter what they do back. It's that
Hmm.
you're owning your part. And if they never want to talk to you again, it's that's on them, right? Like, I
Absolutely.
always I always say to my husband, I'm like, man, the people that knew me when I was off the rails, I wish they had the opportunity to know and to love me now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm me now, right? Like, I'm healthy, and I'm really, people used to say, can I heal? Can I heal? Can I heal? And I'm like, I think so. Like, I know if you take my program and you're a kid, but as an adult, like, I never met, and this is the honest to God's truth, I had never met a healthy survivor.
Wow.
I can count on maybe 3 fingers, and I'm one of them, that is a healthy survivor, that is a living. And that will
Yeah.
be the word that I use, is that, You know, I know people that say they're healthy and they're drinking in their basement and they're alcoholics. That's
Right.
not, that's coping. That's not living.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I get that. I get, and that's why there's no judgment. I get why people can turn to drugs and alcohol,
Hmm.
because it numbs stuff. And it's a lot to
Absolutely.
carry that someone violated you. Like when I was 17, my doctor said to me I'd never bear children because my insides were that messed up from
Oh,
my stuff.
yes.
But you know what? I can
Yeah.
dwell on that and all this bad shit that's happened in my life, but I don't. I had two beautiful kids, and you know what? I had them the first try. Like, you
Wow.
don't know what God's going to give you. The universe and God, they want only good for us. But we've got to take it and open our hearts, because I believe as survivors, we shut down our hearts
Oh,
in a lot of
yeah.
ways. We shut it
It's
down, and you got
it's
to
too
open it
hard
back
to let
up.
people in. It's too hard to let our own selves in. I don't know about you, but forgiving myself for things that I did when I wasn't dealing positively with my trauma as an adult, that was the hardest thing that I've ever had to look at.
You know what's crazy about that, dear, is that I forgave my offender and my family before I forgave my own flippin' self.
Yep,
Holy shit.
absolutely.
Like, that's
Wow. Yeah,
craziness. I didn't do
right.
anything wrong. I didn't wear anything inappropriate. Like, I mean, I was eight,
Yep.
man. Like, I should have said to my family at that time, what do you think I was wearing, you dumb people? Like, I was
Yeah,
probably wearing a nightie down to my ankles. Like, sorry if some pervert guy, right, is
right.
attracted to that. You know, like, I am not responsible, and nor any of you, for what happened to us. And as soon as you realize that, things can start to get better and to heal, because I believe that everybody listening, we're everybody. We are, our job in life is to heal from our trauma and our pain.
Hmm.
That's our purpose, right? And I wish that it wasn't so much and so intense, but it is. And I will tell you that the people that and I like, you know, I've got know lots of very successful people. Those aren't the people I respect. You know who I respect? I respect you, because
Aw,
you're
thank
doing
you.
something. You know, you fight every day to live and to make a difference and open your heart and to do this platform. No, you're a hero. All of the people that are trying to get through this shit that was done to us, you're all heroes. And remember
Absolutely.
that when you have a moment that you're like, oh, I feel shitty. No, Glory says I'm a hero, because you are. You
Yeah,
think this shit's easy to get through? Being violated like that? It's not. You're all heroes for staying in the arena and fighting. Every freaking one of
100%.
you, right?
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Um, and I have to say, it is one of the hardest things when we stop putting our worth based on what others think of us, based on our achievements, based on what we could potentially do for somebody else,
Mhm.
and start believing that our greatest gift is what we can give ourselves, and how much self-worth we can feel within ourselves, right? I mean, then we really do attract those people in our lives who are going to be there for us and who are going to support us. And I am so thankful that you had your husband, who was just an absolute rock this entire time for you, and that in your real time of need that you found people who could be there for you. Because and that's why I started this channel. Support is so important. And a lot of survivors don't know where to reach, and they don't maybe want to face somebody face to face.
Yeah.
And you can be whoever you want to be here, and you can still connect with somebody else who can say, I get it. You don't have to explain your story. You don't have to tell me what you've been through. Whatever it is, I get it. The trauma effects across different types of trauma are fairly similar.
Mhm.
we can all support each other. And so I just I'm so thankful for you for being now in the place that you're at. I just, I think it's
I
absolutely wonderful. And I respect you so much for doing what you've done. Not the center, not that that's not absolutely amazing, which is incredible. Not the fact that you've written a book, which is incredible, but you finally took the time to become Glory, right?
Well, and it's interesting because when I we have a mutual friend that reached out and said, "Hey, would you do this podcast?" And I love her, like Chris. I love her. She's so incredible, and I was like, you said, like, "Hey, I'd like to do this," and I was like, "Listen, if you want to do Little Warriors, you can reach out to them, and this is who you talk to, because really, all I want to spend my time doing now is I want to." Share my healing so others know that it's possible.
Yeah.
And if one thing that I shared helps you, it's worth it, right? And so this is the first podcast that I've done in like a number of years, and I really have enjoyed my time with you, and I'm really grateful that you asked, and I'm really grateful to have met you and connected with you. And I'm already thinking, like, I want you to get Erin Marin on, who is changing the law. I got a list of people that would
Oh,
just,
send them my way.
yeah,
Give
would be
them
amazing, dear. And Erin,
absolutely.
Erin Marin is she is changing the law state by state, and she is incredible. There's just
Awesome.
so many people doing so much. Theo Fleury would be amazing to have on. He's, I can connect you. He's been a good friend and always been there for me. Like, there are warriors out there fighting every day for all of us, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and we'll definitely if you can stay on for a few minutes
Yeah, absolutely there.
after we end, we can chat just a little bit. But I want to say I'm I want to say a huge thanks to Crystal M because she was the one who connected us
Thank
and
you, Crystal.
got us together. And so thank you, Crystal. We've talked about the Be Brave Ranch before and the wonderful work that it's done. And we just hadn't connected in terms of you. But I'm so thankful that you took the opportunity or took this opportunity to come and speak to us and to share your story with us, particularly because you've been out of the light for out of the spotlight for so long. It means so much. And it's one of the things about surviving together, whether we have 100 people in the chat or whether I have one person in the chat, if that one person is getting something out of this, it's worth it, right? Because you're connecting, you're helping, you know that you've made a difference with somebody.
Well, it's interesting because you'll notice I never asked you anything about your podcast. I didn't ask you how many subscribers, how many, like, none of it. You want to know why? It
Right.
doesn't matter to me. Like, we'll both share the link. People can listen to it. The people that joined, that's amazing. But whatever the universe is going to do with the last hour that you and I shared together is
Right.
what the universe is going to do with it, right? And
Yes.
it really has been a beautiful experience, and really an honor to share this time with you and everybody listening.
Well, thank you so much, Glory. I really appreciate it. If you want to find out any more information about Glory, I do have the link to her website in the video description, so you can get that there. And hang on a few minutes. Do you have final thoughts that you wanted to leave?
Yeah, I'm really active on social media. So if you can put my name in there, and then glorymeldrum.com is the way to find me. Through Little Warriors, things can get a little bit lost sometimes. So that's kind of the direct way. And if anybody wants to read my book, you can get it off glorymeldrum.com, or you can get it off of Amazon. And it's called Warrior.
Awesome. Well, gloriameldrum.com is the link that I have in my video description. So that should be able to get you to most everything with Glory. So thank you again. Hang on just a few seconds and let me kind of do our little outro thing, and I'll be back with you in about 3 minutes.
Sounds good.
All righty. Thanks, Glory.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, that was our interview for today. I absolutely loved having her on. It was wonderful hearing about her story. And these are more stories that I want to be bringing to you about people who are not only advocating, but are healing themselves, because it is so true. One of the things that Glory said, that we can focus on advocacy, we can be doing work with other people, and we can still not be healthy ourselves. I've been honest with you guys the entire time I've done this podcast. I'm not 100% there. I'm not quite where Glory is right now. I'm maybe 80% there, but I've still got some more work to do, and that's okay. So I am just going to remind you that so Saturday is going to be our next live at 3 p.m. I do have the topic and the thumbnail already up. That might change because I have somebody I'm speaking to, and Saturday may be the only time that they can come on. So keep an eye out on your notifications as to exactly what the topic for Saturday is going to be. But I will see you next time at Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're back to Standard Time, not daylight, which is wonderful. Please remember, you are worthy, you are valuable, and you are loved just the way you are for who you are. Hugs and love from me, each and every one of you guys. I am so appreciative of your support, not only of myself, but of each other. You've really been there for each other, and there's no greater gift, in my opinion. So, surviving together, never alone. Enjoy our outro, guys. Bye.
Through the fire, through the rain, we have walked through endless pain, but we stand, we rise again, stronger now, we break the chain, surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. Every tear, every scar tells the story of who we are. Not just survivors, but warriors too. With love as our armor, we see this through. We see you, we hear you, and we believe in you. Surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. We see you, we hear you,